Reference to the real goal in Falicifer-Lord of Darkness by Anton Long. With the holiness in the alchemical goal is the satanic taking in the function that we offer unto you, as our rational and ecstatic sides are spent in the transmutation of chthonic to celestial before the lunar dragoness. In the beginning, the initiate is limited by forms and directed by opposites. Going beyond sensuality, what we've reflected shows the way to spiritual pleasures. Sources and tests are important, but the practice is beyond acquired sources. We progress through the white, black, blue, purple, yellow, red, and green. But the dying to the conservative ways is when we become of an order in our fleshly vessels. To reach calmness, we must go back to distinguish loyalty and establish societal unity. In the end, we are what we are and are to continue to add to being more than enough in eternity. Liberalism is not the answer either, but a truth lies beyond what is, on the surface, blasphemy. In this age, a second exodus established a spiritual state, but it is more than structures of symbology. Terms are not always what they are supposed to be, and the so-called innocents accomplish similar by their connectivity. Vibration clears the reactionary, as the real-world action is more of a legacy. Projection has its results in others, but we need to be steadfast for what we operate spiritually. Groups and myths combine to live our creed materially. Psychologically, I too see the stars, and we build up the presence causally. Not everyone has their price, but instead build themselves up from a little scripturally. Have you figured out what to do by tracing it causally? Only a part is available from others of the reality. Covenantal terms are all well and good, but for yourself is what is ethically. Seduction happens over time, but is there a way out of the depths of the immoral and amorality? Don't neglect real-world action. Don't rely on secular authorities. Preparation is the start of rituals. Discover and put the shadows to your intentions. Legal and financial prices are paid for some results. Union is formed for the sake of the final. Traps are laid by the infernal. Who can stop those determined for self-actualization? Passive and taking The Antichrist comes by means that are magical, active and giving. What really happened with those crystals? There are those who know your real state and station of being. To the rest, you may be mentally insane. The living are worth the effort, even when contained. Now, I did initially use some different phrases, like astrally, but instead of causally, but it's sort of the same thing, right? And some use the term a causal or astral as like, the jinn realm, because they're sort of beyond the physical anyways. And no, they're not just one type of elemental. They're all those male and female beings and all that. I changed in the opening, because I said with the holiness, because Agios O starts the chant that we're translating here. But in this text, we have sort of the conflict between the White Lodge and the Black Lodge, as people call it, in moralistic terms. And of course, they have sort of end times goals, you could say. But the White Lodge is too afraid of some types of magic, but they want to cancel out and react, and kind of undo the Black Lodge's magic. And, the Black Lodge is just doing what it's doing to do what it's doing to presence. And there was an alphabet mentioned. And this alphabet, the passing the river, is a symbolic reference, you could say, to the Israelites. They go over the Reed Sea, and then they go over the Euphrates. And there was also 2 exoduses, as you could say, for the Islamic community under Muhammad. So it's the type of thing that goes off a couple times. And of course, using magical alphabets, it'd be harder to tell what is said, because it would be less known to use an alphabet that's a lodge alphabet than one otherwise. But we see even some pretty major movements like the Golden Dawn literally using ciphers from other books rather than composing their own cipher, maybe jumbling that same cipher. They literally, it's like, okay, everybody has this book, right? Okay, well, we're going to use the cipher on this page. And by on the surface blasphemy, it's like, well, it's not really blasphemy. It's differing. Sometimes that's the thing, because one's renouncing the other thing, and but something about this story sort of mythologizes some of the founding myth of the Order of Nine Angles, doesn't it? Because about 1960 is when some of the events had started to happen. Well, I mean, the 1960s was when some of the events started to happen that was supposed to bring result in the Order of Nine Angles appearing by the end of the decade. And no, the pre-internet stuff is not the only authentic Order of Nine Angles stuff. As this book that I, made a meme for kind of shows, is that Anton Long, he was around longer than that.